once you have your whole business set up, then you can start thinking about your branding and how you want to go out and get clients. Where are you going to get your portfolio pieces, right? Your own home, your friends' homes, whatever. But setting up the back end, the process, I think, is the most important thing, so that you know it like the back of your hand. Now you get your first client and you're able to walk through it. So A, it'll build your confidence. B, it'll help your client experience. And 3, your results will be so much better, so that you're able to get photographs and whatever, and referrals, because that's the most important thing when you're getting started, is those referrals.
Welcome to the Designers Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Kate Bendewald. If you're tired of one-size-fits-all advice to running your interior design business, you're in the right place. Join me each week as we dive into topics to help you run a thriving interior design business without the hustle. We'll talk about the business of design, but also mindset and mental health, because I know when you thrive, so will your life and business. It wasn't that long ago that I stepped away from my corporate interior design job to build my own design business so that I could realize my own creative dreams, have more time with the people I love, and serve my clients at the highest level while making more money than I ever could have working for someone else. It wasn't always easy, and I made my share of mistakes along the way. Fast forward to today, and I've learned a thing or two. Since then, I've built multiple six-figure interior design businesses on authentic word-of-mouth referrals with many repeat clients. And I want to share it all with you, the ambitious, inspired, and I get it, occasionally overwhelmed interior designer who shares this dream of transforming lives through the art of interior design. You can do this. Thank you for letting me spend part of this day with you. Let's get to it. Today, my guest is Tina Guevara of Juliette Sebastian Interiors in New Jersey. Tina is a longtime member inside the Interior Designers Business Blueprint program, and I have had the pleasure of watching Tina's business grow into a wildly successful brand. Today, Tina shares how her background in corporate project management has helped her develop a truly exceptional client experience, which keeps clients coming back and referring her to their friends. Tina really gets the value of client experience, and today she gives us a peek behind the curtains of how she does it. Along the way, she'll also share stories of facing imposter phenomenon, dealing with tricky client personalities, and overcoming many other challenges on her path. You're in for a real treat hearing from Tina today. Her warmth and authenticity transcends typical ideas of successful designers. Please welcome my friend, Tina Guevara. Hi, Tina. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Having you back.
Having me back.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Tina
is fun.
Oh my goodness. I know. Tina, I'm so excited to have you here today. You were a founding member of the Designers Oasis membership. So we've known each other for about 3 years now, and you feel like a friend. And I just feel so lucky to have been able to sort of see and watch you and your business grow and thrive. And I've also sat in with you through some really difficult conversations where you've, had, just like all of us, gone through having to deal with a challenging client. And now that is just like so far back in the rearview mirror. And so you really are a special human to me and a special friend. And I hope to get to meet you in person one of these days. But I thought it was really important to have you here, because I think that you always come to the Q&As with a lot of really great questions, but also you chime in and you help other designers who are maybe a little bit behind you. They're not, don't have the kind of experience that you do. And you always give such sage and wise advice and ideas and consideration. And you do it in the Facebook group too. And so I just wanted the world to get to know who you are and shine a spotlight on you, because you're a special person to me. And I really wanted to be able to share some of this with our listeners today. So thanks for being here.
No, thank you for having me. It's funny because I can't believe it's been 3 years. I feel like it was just yesterday.
I know. I
I
know.
I came to you at like I found Designers Oasis. I actually found your blog because I was looking for templates, and I part of it was that I was struggling with consistency with the client experience for my clients. I knew like I had a process down, but I found that it wasn't repeatable. And I felt like I was always tweaking it, and the tweaks were always kind of like, oh, well, that didn't work with that client, so I'm just going to tweak it here. But there was never I was really looking just to kind of replicate what designers out there were doing. And this is before Facebook groups, this is before any of that stuff. So I was really, I would buy textbooks, the textbooks didn't work. I would look at other, templates, the templates didn't work. And I was really at my wit's end. By the time I found your blog, and you had so many freebies on there that I just like ate it all up. And that's how I met you, really. Essentially, I signed up for the training program that you were running for e-design.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I need to do that.
That was the birthplace of Designers
And
Oasis, really.
Yeah, and it's funny because I found so much more than templates. Yes, the templates were wonderful, and they helped me fine tune really quickly where I had holes in my process. To create because I actually had created a chart of all the content that I needed in order to automate my process a little bit more. It would have taken me so long to do that, and I was so frustrated. I was still working, like I had clients, that I was servicing. Plus, I was trying to fix all the back end problems. So when I came across your templates, it just I don't know, like the wheels just started, like they got put in motion, and I started operating much faster.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And then when you announced that you were, opening up this program, I was like, I'm in. Like, it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, I'm in.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
This feel like the early days.
Those were like the early days. And it's funny because I never would have imagined what you were going to create. It's everything from the monthly live sessions to the roadmap. If I had that, so I'm in this now a little over 15, I want to say more like 18 years. If I had that at the beginning, I always think about like, where would I be today? Like I'd be so much further ahead today.
You're right where you need to be. You're right where you need to be.
Yeah. And even the Facebook group, I was telling somebody recently, I forget who I was talking to them about you, that, I belong to a lot of Facebook groups. I've, participated in other programs, and then they throw you into the Facebook group, but the person disappears. The lead person disappears. They never really participate. That's not the case with Designers Oasis. Like, you're very active in there, and the membership is really awesome, but you still play a role in that, and like you're still the leader of that group, and I find it so much more helpful, and I think it created a culture where you feel safe asking what you think are dumb questions, which aren't dumb questions, but you feel like you are.
Yeah.
Even 18 years in, I feel like I'm going to ask a stupid question here.
Sure. Oh, gosh.
But it's a really safe place. And I belong to other groups that I'm like not as comfortable asking questions in. And I'm there mostly as a voyeur, as an absorber, and not so much as a participant. So this is all you've created this.
Wow. Well, that speaks a lot. I mean, gosh, I'm blushing over here. It means a lot to me, though, that you would say that, because I've had that same experience with other groups, and that has always been my intention. And sometimes you wonder if that resonates, or if that comes across, what is the culture of this specific Facebook group? And I set out very early on being very vocal about what this group was and what it wasn't. And I think that is in a lot of ways been really successful, but in great
and the
part,
live sessions do that. It's so awesome, because I come to the live session sometimes with questions, or sometimes I come even without a question, just to attend and see, and questions that I hadn't even thought of get answered. And I think it's because you've created this like safe zone where you have all these different designers, different stages of their development of their business development.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get a good answer from you, but then everybody else is going to weigh in as well. So I love I love the live sessions. I try not to miss them.
Oh, yeah, it's always the first Thursday, and it's my most favorite day of the month. I absolutely live for it because it's so energizing, and
Yeah.
I learn as much from you guys as I hope you take away from me. Well, let's get to you, Tina, because I want to hear your story. I love hearing from designers sharing kind of their path, their road, because although no two roads for two different designers are ever the exact same, I know that you've had a lot of experience that are going to resonate with designers. And so I'd like for you to kind of share how you got started and where that road has taken you over the last couple of years, almost decades,
Yeah.
and where things are for you today.
So my entree into interior design was like not straightforward, even though it probably should have been, and it was very obvious from a very young age that that's what I should have been doing. But my mom was not going to have a creative. She would support it as like a side thing, but you were never going to make a living out of a creative career. So she wanted a doctor, and I went into college pre-med, and I dropped out real quick as soon as I got there. She didn't talk to me for 2 months, and I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. Came out of college, and I was like, I should probably work at a lawyer's firm just to make sure. I worked there for a summer, realized, nope, not me. That's so boring.
Put a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah, I would just wither away. I ended up going into corporate, where I withered away for about 18 years. But I went in as a writer, and I quickly realized that I wasn't that person that could sit at the desk and just work all day. I'm just too dynamic. I need to talk to people. I need to engage with people. Eventually it morphed into a project management role. But all the while I was doing interior design on the side. My husband's also a creative. He's a graphic designer, and his first job out of college was Elle Decor. And he kept saying to me, come over. He's like, I can get you hired. I'm in with the editor in chief. I can get you hired. And I was like, what do I have to offer other than like my love of the glossy pages? You know what I mean? Like I don't have. Yeah. And the way it works in the glossy page business is everybody starts out as an assistant to the editor in chief, and then you move up. And then you become a writer and all that stuff. So he was like, this is an easy win for you. Like you come in, you'll work for her. I know her. She's wonderful. And you're a writer. So that's what you will lend to that's what you bring to the table. I chose not to do it, but, and I regret it forever. I couldn't walk away from the corporate salary to go start as an assistant. Like that was just to me, it felt like going backwards. So I just kept going forward. I would buy textbooks. I was just educating myself just for fun. It wasn't really like I had an idea that I thought I could actually run this business one day. And then fast forward,
can I pause you real quick with a question? What were you doing in corporate as a writer?
I was writing, I came out right in the tech world. So writing manuals, operations manuals, super boring, dry stuff. Then I evolved into marketing writing, and then eventually training and coaching, like executive coaching. Which that kind of lit my fire.
Oh my gosh, all of this is making a lot of sense now, Tina. I knew that you were a writer. I knew that you were in corporate, but I didn't know specifically that that's the kind of writing you were doing. But that checks out. Okay.
Is that right?
Keep going. Yes, of course. I love that. I love that because those are skills that I can clearly see how that's helped you develop in the way that you have. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You want to hear something funny? Before I left corporate, and this is before I found out I was pregnant with my second child, I was going to go back to school, graduate school, to become an executive coach. Because I thought, I'm like, well, it pays good. I'll just do that. And then I found out I was pregnant with my second child, and being a corporate gal and trying to, climb up the ladder with one child was challenging enough, and no support. I had no support. My husband worked a crazy job. So it was almost like I was raising a child by myself. Now I'm pregnant with the second one.
Yeah.
Like the wheels were coming off. And so I started thinking about actually stepping away. And I was about to put in my resignation, and then I found out I was pregnant. So I was like, I'll just stick it out. The market blew up. The real estate market blew up. And they wouldn't let me go. My projects, everything got canceled. I was literally going into the office after I'd had my second baby and just sitting there. So I sat there and designed my son's bedroom because I had no work. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to keep myself busy. So I did that. And then they finally, after 4 months, let me go. I got a huge package because I'd been with them for 8 years. And my husband said to me, it's now or never. Like, it's now or never. You can't use the excuse that you don't have, the money because you're getting paid. So you just got to do it. And so I said, you're right.
What a gift.
I dove in. I went straight in. I was like, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my degree in interior design. And I started taking classes. And actually the classes I was taking, I felt like they were too, like, I was already further ahead in terms of what I knew. So I didn't really feel like I was learning anything, but I was doing it just to get the degree. And he said to me, he goes, you should have business cards, because he's a graphic designer. So he made me business cards.
I just have to pause for a second. I have a similar husband who is my biggest cheerleader. And he was the one that was like, you can do this, even before I believed in myself being able to do it. And I'm so grateful that we have it. I still want to kill him on some days, but I love him to the ends of the earth. It's just to be clear, like, this is not some like rom-com. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's so funny. He actually created all my templates, like all my branding templates.
Cool.
He did all
What
of
a
that.
great asset to have when you're starting a business.
Yeah, he's a good egg.
Love
and
that.
Then I started a little blog called Chic Delight because I thought I was so chic.
Yeah, you were chic. You are chic.
And it was an interior design blog, and I was like loving it. I was just like so happy. I was staying home, raising my babies, going to school for interior design, running this little blog. And he makes me these business cards. I go to a baby, like a kiddie birthday party. And I run into this woman, a local mom who's an executive, a pharma executive. And she's like, so Tina, what do you do? What do you do? So it's funny because she's actually also an executive coach. And so I was like, kind of dancing around the answer, but I told her, I said, I'm in between careers. I'm starting interior design. I'm in school. I decided to go back to get my degree in interior design. She's like, do you have a business card? I said, oh, and I give it to her. And she's like, I'm looking for a designer. I just did an extension on my house, and I'm looking to hire. She's like, I'll give you a call next week. And I thought, oh, she's never going to call. She called at the following week. I ran into her at a basketball game, at the girls' basketball game. And she came over to me. She goes, I lost the business card. Do you have another one?
Oh my gosh. That was the world saying, nope, this is meant to happen.
Right? Yeah. And that single job, it was a huge job, Kate. I was not prepared for it. Like I did a great job, but I didn't have any of my systems in place. I didn't have templates. I didn't even know how am I going to do a presentation. So I got just thrown in. I want to say that was like a $50,000 job. I mean, it was crazy. I did a whole kitchen, like a great room. I did the living room, the dining room, her office, her master suite, which was huge, her son's room. I mean, pretty much the whole house.
The whole house.
It was, I don't, it was probably more than 50, but anyway, that job,
and she believed in,
and she's such like a girl's gal. She just kept pushing me, and she was like, I'm telling everybody about you. And she would tell all her friends, and that led to more jobs and more jobs. And I got so busy, I had to like not finish school so that I could focus on work. Yeah. And so that was really it.
I love it.
So talk about a project that changed the direction of my life and my career. It was that job. It was having like a female that was so supportive, but also just having this big of a job where I could really showcase what I could do.
It's like you're looking at my questions, because one of my questions was, can you talk about a memorable project that played a significant role in shaping your career business? So we got that one done. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I'm hearing not only was that specific project really important and impactful for you, but just the importance of having clients who believe in you, clients who trust you, clients who are going to rally for you because you have a
Yeah.
common goal, right? Versus
Yeah.
working with, clients who are going to drag you through the mud or question everything or not trust you. Like that is
Yeah.
so important. And that's something that I think young designers think they have to earn over time. Like they have to prove something first. And I call
Yeah.
bullshit. I'm like, no, you can ask for and have the audacity to expect really good clients right out of the gate. Now, are there
Yeah.
going to be some foul balls that slip through the cracks? You bet. Sorry, that was a
Yeah.
sports reference, and I don't know anything about sports, and I may have like mixed multiple sports references there, so forgive me. But anyway, my point is like I'm so happy for you that that was your experience because it clearly set your career in a different trajectory that has been really powerful for you. So
Yeah. And you know what's funny? By all measures, there were red flags with that client. She was, I mean, she's a pharma executive. She's like, like a very put together woman. She said to me, my sisters can't believe I'm hiring a decorator because I am a control freak. And
oh
I was like,
yeah,
oh, do I want to
yeah,
work with you? Right.
yeah.
Her husband, when they first bought the house, they rented a truck and they went up to Brimfield and bought, antiques. But
Uh-huh.
except that it was just a bunch of crap is really what they bought. Like, but it was
Okay.
antiques because when you don't know how to buy antiques, you just end up
Sure.
buying crap.
Right.
And he was very proud of how he had decorated the house. And
Okay.
she hated it. She was like,
Uh-huh.
that's not what I wanted, but like he took the lead. So now that they had done the extension, she wanted it done the right way. And he was like,
Mhm.
no, we can do this ourselves. We don't need to hire.
Sure.
Nicest person on the planet.
Mhm.
But whenever I would like walk in the room, he would say hi, chat for 2 minutes, and then leave. So he was like an absent stakeholder. And I
Uh-huh.
swear, had I not had the project management experience,
Mhm.
that would have been that would have been a terrible client
Yeah.
experience. But it worked out so good. It worked out so
Yeah.
great.
I love that so much, right? Yeah, because well, if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you've probably heard me say that when you see red flags, it's not necessarily a deal breaker. It's your opportunity to get curious. What's behind that, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you can sometimes get a lot more information and decide, make a decision based off of what you uncover through that curiosity rather than just
Yeah.
steamrolling it and saying, nope, not going to do this because I
Yeah.
saw a red flag. So
Yeah.
it sounds like that was how you
My
approached that.
personality is one that I like to scare myself a little bit. Like, and so that's what I found when I worked in corporate was that I would get bored with my job.
Mm.
So in the beginning, I was switching jobs like every 6 months because I would get bored. Every 6 to 8 months, I'm like, oh, I mastered this, gotta go.
Yeah.
And I've discovered in corporate that I like to scare myself and I like to create chat and so it made sense that I would end up in this career not really knowing how to like what to do, how to run a business, all of that, taking on a huge client without having even as much as like an idea on how to price. That was the first thing I had to figure
Mhm.
out was how to price. And
Yeah.
then as I was getting through every phase of the design process, figuring out how I was going to present it, like how am I going to present the concept to her?
Mhm.
How am I going to present design? And it was exhilarating, and I think
Yeah.
that that's why I stayed hooked. I like the fact that every project that comes in through the door is different, every client is different, so it's a challenge every single time, so it keeps me engaged, so there's no room for getting bored at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And here you are, however many years later. I actually think that that is a key skill set of anyone who wants to run their own interior design business. You cannot be so risk averse that you it paralyzes you, right?
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of a relationship with risk and the unknown and be
Yeah.
willing to fail and try something and it doesn't work, right? And it's
Yeah.
like
Not let it
if
crush you.
yeah, because that is I was listening to a podcast, the Chelsea Handler's podcast recently, and there was she does like life advice and callers call in and she has a celebrity on with, and then together they give this life advice to someone. And there was this girl who was wanting to have a career change and was looking to pursue a a career in interior design. But one of the things she said was she struggles to make decisions. Like she just can't make decisions. And I'm like, girlfriend, that is all this is. You better get comfortable with it, or else this is not for you. Because not only think about the business decisions you have to make, like thousands, hundreds, in a week, but then on top of that, the decisions for clients and the selection process. And it's just like, you have to be a decision maker for sure.
And exude the confidence so that your client who's lacking in decision making capabilities can trust you.
Amen. I hear that.
I always say it's not for the faint of heart. This is not a career for the faint of heart.
No, I've developed a little bit thicker skin in the last couple of decades myself, because you make a mistake and you have to own up to it and fix it and move on, or you deal with somebody who is unsavory, or you have someone try to mansplain something to you and you're like, excuse me. So anyway, okay, you exhibit one of the most key features or key sort of traits, I think, of a successful designer is your ability to be okay with risk and try something even if you don't know the outcome, and go through it, go with it anyway. I want to ask you, you mentioned your very first project came, it sounds like you were at a kid's birthday parties. Fun fact, kids' birthday parties is for me one of those things that's up there with like getting your head split open and like brain surgery. Like, not my kids have maybe had like one birthday their whole life. I'm so glad my kids are out of the stage where you have to attend birthdays with them. Anyway, that's just a side note. Okay.
Especially Chuck E. Cheese. That was like,
oh my goodness. So, but this is where we meet people. This is where we find people. I want to talk to you. I want to hear a little bit about the role that your network has played in your business journey, and what suggestions do you have for designers who are looking to grow their network?
So, it's funny because I got that first job not because I was openly telling people what I'm doing. It was because somebody asked me, somebody took an interest in me, and then I shared something, and it just so happened. So it was luck. A lot of it was luck, right? My personality, I'm bubbly, I'm very outgoing, I'll talk to, but I never talk about myself. It's such a hard thing for me. I feel very uncomfortable. I feel almost like it's boastful. So it took a while. I had started taking those classes, and only my immediate friends knew that I was taking classes. I wasn't out there telling all the moms at pickup, which I should have been, or at the birthday parties. I should have been telling people. So my name got around because my friends were taking care of me. My friends were like, "Oh, Tina's doing this. You need to talk to her. Oh, Tina's doing this." So people started finding out, but not through any effort of my own, which now in retrospect, I kick myself in the butt, because I should have been out there handing out business cards like it was going out of style. Even social media is hard for me. It's still, I've had to like my Instagram, I have to think of it as the arm of the business, like the marketing arm of the business, and not like it's my Instagram, because if I think of it in those terms, then I get paralyzed and I can't engage. So I would say the advice to anybody that, well, actually, I didn't tell you, but I joined this summer, I joined a local business networking group. Because one of the goals I had set for myself at the beginning of the year was to start to do more marketing, and networking was one of them. But I had done, it was like already like June, I'd done nothing towards marketing. And this person posted something on one of the local Facebook groups, looking for businesses for networking, right? And so I texted I messaged the guy, and I was like, "Hey, I'm an interior designer. I'm interested." So I joined, and turns out it's just one pod. So there's a local pod, and then there are all these other pods in the surrounding towns, and I'm the only designer in all of these networking groups.
Cool.
So so that has gotten me out there, giving out my business card, engaging with these people. We meet every other week. Now they're doing a social media pod, so every other week when we're not meeting, we're doing this like social, like a group social media blast where we support each other. And so I've started to get like new followers through them. And so the networking is starting to feel a little less daunting and kind of fun, actually. So I would
Cool.
say start with a networking group, and everybody kept saying that to me a while ago. I just didn't know how. But start with a networking group. Tell everybody and their mother that what you're doing. Show them what you're doing. Now I'm like, I'm at a party or whatever. I'm like, oh, let me show you my latest project. Look at this.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can see both sides of it. I love the book, The Art of People. And I can link to that in the show notes. I'm trying to look at the book over my shoulder because I'm spacing on the author's name, but I can't quite see it from where I'm sitting. Anyway, you mentioned like I never talked about what I did. And I do think that we need to get comfortable with talking about what we do in an authentic way. And in fact, that's what we're getting ready to do in our next CEO corner is really come up with that authentic sort of cocktail party explanation of what we do, something that feels natural and that is engaging. But also, I think there's a real tremendous benefit when you are out there networking. I'm a lot like you, Tina. I am much more comfortable asking questions and learning about other people than I am talking about myself. But I think that has merit too. I think, and this is what I think his name is Dave Kirpin. Maybe I should know this, but anyway, The Art of People. This is what he talks about in his book: is like show interest in other people. Learn about them and what they do and what lights them up. And, if you have opportunities to share something with them that might be helpful, or connect them with somebody, or teach, share an app that might be helpful with something they're talking about, or whatever, like any little way that you can help them. But the only way you can do that is to learn about people and what lights them up and what's exciting. Even if it's their kids, right? But the point is that's a part of relationship networking. And the only way you can get to that is by truly getting to show genuine interest in other people without any strings attached. And then that's how relationships build. And that's how you'll naturally, it'll turn to you, and you eventually do get an opportunity to share what it is you do. And at that point, they feel so close and connected to you because they feel like they know you, because they do, because you've had this conversation in a true, authentic relationship, that all of a sudden talking about yourself doesn't feel so like you're trying to pitch anything. It's just sharing what you're passionate about and how you help others. So I would argue that there's a lot of merit to, if you're in that space where you're still trying to figure out like how to talk about what you do, keep working on it, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to talk about what you do, but also don't discount the value of just getting out there and meeting people and connecting with them, staying connected with them, asking lots of questions, learning about them, and show a genuine interest. I do believe in playing the long game. We are farmers when it comes to business networking. So I think that really does hold a lot of value when it comes to building a business. But then like, going out and joining a networking group. The first time you went, talk to me about that. Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you ambivalent? What was that like for you?
I was so nervous. I don't even know why I was nervous, but
sure.
So I had, so I worked in coaching and training. So I had this little trick. Whenever I would go in, part of what I started doing the last few years was I would go out to roll out these huge training programs all around the country. So on any given day, I would be walking into a room of men, mostly brokers that I didn't know. And so that's very intimidating. And I'm a little person. So I would give myself a pep talk before walking in. And I learned that I'd be like an actress, right? Like I would just get up in the morning, put the lipstick on, put the high heels on, the business power suit, and I'd walk in and start shaking hands. So when I had a little bit of a panic attack outside, I was like, okay, go back to what you know how to do, right? You got the
Yeah.
lipstick on, you got the high heels on. Just walk in and start shaking.
Yes, those things matter if you ask me.
And there were a whole bunch of people there, and they were
Cool.
standing around networking. And I didn't know who I was going to say hello to first, but I just put on a big bright smile. I walked in. I was like, "Hi, I'm Tina. I'm an interior designer." And I just went on around the whole room, and they were such great people. That we're all in the same boat, right?
Yeah.
It's like what I used to tell my daughter when she started freshman year. Like, you guys are all in the same boat. Nobody knows everybody's starting from scratch. Like, just know that you're not alone. And so every other week we meet. We kind of do the same thing every time. You go around the room and you present your business. You talk about who you are, what you do, what you offer your clients, and what kind of clients you're looking. So ideal client, who's your ideal client?
Yeah.
So these meetings have helped me hone in on that language, on the elevator pitch, and on who my client is and what kind of projects I'm looking for. So, and then also they ask you to tell your group, your networking group, what like keywords they should be listening to, like someone who's doing a renovation project, somebody who just bought a house and they're going to need a paint job, things like that. So that it's been awesome. Like, at least for my ego, it's been a little bit awesome because I keep practicing over and over again.
I love that.
The other thing they do is each person, at some point, they have to get up and put together a 15-minute presentation of their business. This is, for years I've been hearing, you got to join a networking group, or you got to go call the women's club and do a presentation for them. And I was always stuck on, like, well, what do I present? Like, what the hell do I have to present? So the head person reached out to me the night before our next meeting, and he was like, "Okay, Tina, you're presenting tomorrow." And I was like, "What? Oh my God, no, I can't present. I don't have a presentation." He's like, "No, it's fine. Just show up." So being the extra person that I am, I can't just wing it.
Of course not.
No, of course not. So I was up till like 3 o'clock in the morning putting together this presentation, and it was fantastical. Like, and now I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this presentation for other things. Yeah, it was really good, and it got really great feedback. And it was very professional. So I think for them, it was you're just a decorator, right? You just like buy things and you make them pretty. And I walked them through, everything, the whole process and what it looks like and everything. So I don't know. I felt like they walked away with a certain kind of respect for the work.
Oh, I love that part so much. And I want to dig into this a little bit because I recently had an experience where I was meeting with someone, a man who doesn't know anything about design, doesn't care about design. He thinks, right? I actually was just reminded of the scene from one of my favorite movies, The Devil Wears Prada, where, there's the intern who thinks she's not a part of the fashion world. And she has this like, heart, like this come to Jesus moment. It's like, you think that you're not a part of this. Don't you realize all these people that are picking up these things that are on the discount rack that you now purchase? Like, we developed that. Anyway, a side note. So like, that's just what popped in my head. But, and because our next CEO corner, we're talking about this specifically, like uncovering your impact, right? Uncovering your value, and how do you talk about that? And it really stemmed from this conversation with him, because what we were talking about, we kept coming back to my work, and I kept coming back to designers' responsibilities, to, from a sustainability standpoint, and like our role and how we have such great opportunity to impact that aspect of our work, thinking about art and how much we have an opportunity to say no to mass produced art and start to find those emerging artists and those local artists. There's no shortage of really cool art that is not going to break the bank, right? So it's like just thinking about all of these different ways and thinking about trauma-informed interior design and how spaces can have a healing effect on people. And in this conversation, by the end of it, he was like, Kate, my mind is blown. I had no idea how important the work is that you guys do. I was like, yeah, it's really fucking cool. and we were just going off about it. And so I'm really deeply in this headspace right now about exactly what you're talking about. And we have a responsibility. Look, people don't know what we do. They have such misunderstandings about what we do. And I read an article recently. Oh gosh, I'll see if I can pull it up. And if I can, I'll link to it in the show notes. But it was just about how film and movies gets it wrong, talking about what interior designers do. And they sort of display this kind of I hate to use the word bimbo, but I think that's the word they use, like sort of airhead sort of girl that just walks around with color swatches. And it's such a diluted perception or perspective of what we actually do and how we help people solve, really meaningful problems. I cannot talk today. Anyway, so I love that you had this opportunity to really, even if it was like, under the gun, to be able to put together this presentation to showcase not just what we do, but what you, Tina, do and how you do it differently than any other designer in your area. And so I can see how not only was that really empowering, but you're like, well, this is really good. I'm going to use it in my marketing and in my conversations. So I think everybody should have to do that, myself included.
Yeah.
Hey, designer, are you tired of wasting precious time with prospective clients who are not a right fit? Do you experience imposter syndrome because the back end of your business is kind of a hot mess? Perhaps you're experiencing growing pains and you don't have the tools, resources, or team to support you. I get it. I've been there. As an ambitious interior design business owner myself, I know the roller coaster ride this can be. Over the years, I've learned a thing or two about running a profitable word-of-mouth design business, and I want to help you find success too. How would it feel to wake up and face the day knowing exactly what to focus on next, having a roster of enthusiastic clients, including a paid waitlist, and having the space, time, and creative energy to develop projects that you are proud of and are portfolio, if not press-worthy? I want to invite you to learn more about the Interior Designer's Business Blueprint, a business coaching program designed exclusively for interior designers who want to serve their clients at the highest level while making good money, but without the burnout and overwhelm. If you're ready to get off the roller coaster, you don't have to do it alone. Join me inside the Interior Designer's Business Blueprint and get the tools, teaching, and community you need to pave the way for an interior design business your clients love and you are proud of. To learn more, grab the link on your audio player or head to designersoasis.com/blueprint. That's designersoasis.com/blueprint.
And it was funny because one of the other members, she's a copywriter, and she was talking about how she did this job. It was a small job. She really wanted to help this woman, and then she didn't get paid. And she was like, and she was really upset about it. She's like, I know it's not a lot of money, but I'm really upset about it. And
Sure.
I said, she was like, and I'm just trying to figure out. And so she wanted feedback from the group. And I was like, oh, I know what that is. I said, it's a process problem. What you're having with that is it's a process problem. You needed to have collected your money before you submitted your last deliverable. Yeah. And I blew her mind away. And I was like, see, I knew that from Designers Oasis. I used to be that designer that didn't get paid a couple of times because I submitted my design presentation before I collected the design fee.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Well, this is a good example of how you are such a critical member of this group, because obviously I can't be in there every day answering all the questions, or I wouldn't have time to be sitting down doing stuff like this. And so it very much relies on the wisdom and intelligence of designers like you who do have more experience and can help those other people along. And so it is a really cool community from that aspect. And I do think that there is a tone. We're all kind of on the same page in terms of what should we be doing, which is, I think, is unique from other groups. But anyway, I love that you were able to do that. But it is a process problem, and process is the backbone, I believe, of your brand. And even though like the general steps of like how we get a client from point A to point Z is typically similar, there's so
Yeah.
many ways that you can add your own little like touches to make it special and different and unique. And so you gotta have your process down. That is
Yeah. You
the
gotta have it
number one
down.
thing.
You gotta know it like the back of your hand,
Yep.
and you gotta believe in it as if it
Yes.
is your structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I no longer deviate from it. Like
Yep.
in the beginning, I did, and then I'd go, shoot, that happened because I didn't. Now I'm just, so I learned this phrase from another designer in another group, and she uses the term, and I'm sure she learned it from some coach. This is
Sure.
how I work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I
And
work.
so it and I now I borrowed it. I'm like, this is how I work, or this is how the process works, is
Mm-hmm.
actually what I do. Because if I say this is how I work, then there's the potential for, well, you know, we can, it's negotiable, right? But if you say this
Mm-hmm.
is how the process works, it's just, and I tell you, Kate, I've had a
Mm-hmm.
full year of like a full slate of projects that have all gone successful from
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end. And by end, I mean getting good testimonials, Google reviews.
Yep.
I just had one client reach out the other day. She was like the one that like hadn't done the Google review and hadn't responded. I'm like, oh man, Cheryl, damn it. And she's like, not, she's also an executive and she's not good with responding to emails. And I had nudged her the second time. And that was another thing, right? Like the confidence that it
Mm-hmm.
built up in me. I would have been very embarrassed to reach out to a client for a review. I would have just hoped that they would send it. Now I'm
Sure.
just like, I have that template. I send out
Yeah.
the email. It goes out. It's
Uh-huh.
professional. It sounds lovely. Was able to get all my other reviews except her. She just responded back. She said, sorry, I had a medical thing that went on. I'm good now. I'm sorry it took so long to get to it.
Oh, goodness.
And she posted it. She's like, I'm working next on my office and I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely telling everybody about you. I was like,
Yes.
you know, so
I love
every
that.
client that I've had this year, it's gone the same way. Like I've just gotten
Yeah.
great reviews. I've had clients come back. I had a client that I worked with earlier this year. She just came back for the fall. I'm doing her
Mhm.
whole first floor, including the kitchen. So, and
Yes.
it's
How
really
fun.
just that. It's the client experience. Once I
Mm-hmm.
got that kind of really tweaked in,
Yeah.
it just works, and I don't
Yeah.
really have to make any changes to it now. It just
I want
works.
to, yeah, I love it. This is such an important lesson that, sometimes there's going to be trial and error and you do have to tweak some things until you kind of know what works for you and your kind of clients. But once you know something works, it's really important to make that a
Stick with it,
pillar,
yeah.
a pillar. So I'd love to hear, can you share a couple of your non-negotiables that for you are just like, this is something that I will not deviate from?
Well, getting paid is one. I mean, I mean,
Yes.
that just, it
But
used to
how
be
and when and like, yeah.
exactly. Well, I used to be this person. I'm no longer that. But I used to be this person, even in corporate, like
Mm-hmm.
negotiating a salary, negotiating what's it called, a bonus, or even talking about the bonus in terms of money. I never did. Like I just was always, I took this huge promotion at one point, and the salary increase should have been $50,000.
Wow.
Do you know that I didn't get it? The
Mm-hmm.
woman did not give me the promotion, and I was too chicken shit to have the conversation. I had the conversation about the job, what I could do, the credentials, all of that stuff. Never address the money.
Mm-hmm.
So she must have been like, well, she didn't bring up the money. So it really became a financial lateral move. Meanwhile, my job got yay bigger.
Yeah.
And I was
Exponentially more
so mad.
challenging.
I was so mad at her, and it
Mm-hmm.
took me years to realize that I should have been mad at me. I didn't advocate for myself. I didn't, so it took me a long time to get comfortable with
Well, and
money.
I want to pause though, but there is for women a long
Yes.
cultural history of
Yes.
be sweet, be kind, get in your lane, do
And
your
talking
role.
money's gross.
Yeah, no, and so
Yeah.
that is a cultural aspect that I think we're really working hard. We have a long way to go still. But don't beat yourself up over that, because that is a long-standing cultural absolute that we have a lot of work to do on. So, but and shame on her for not saying, by the way,
advocating for another
this another woman, this additional responsibility deserves this financial payment. So I don't know if I'd be mad at yourself, but it sounds like you learned something from that. And so now today you have, like, getting paid is a non-negotiable, right?
Yeah.
And so you always get paid up front.
What I'm going to get paid. I determine what I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to get paid that. Period. That's but that didn't come to me, Kate, until I want to say maybe this year or the year before. You did what's it called? I call it a webinar, but it wasn't a webinar, with a financial woman. I can't remember her name.
Oh, we had a whole financial series. Blonde. Jenny Carlson.
Yes, Jenny Carlson.
One of my dear friends. Love her.
Yeah, and that was monumental for me, because it made me take accountability of my of what I make. It's not there. A client's not just going to offer me money. No. I have to set the standard for what I'm worth, and I have to ask, or not ask, actually I have to tell them what it is. And then I have to collect it. And so the collecting became a big thing with sending in the invoice before I send out the scheduler for the presentation. So you don't get the scheduler if you haven't paid the invoice. And that resolved everything for me, because there were a couple of clients that got away with presentations. They suddenly changed their mind. Oh, I'm not going to do the project after they've seen the presentation, taken photos of it, and hadn't paid. And good luck trying to get them to pay. So, so that was a big one. That was a big pillar, I would say, that's non-negotiable. I had a client ask me for a discount, and I did it. This was a few years ago. This was 2 years ago. I did it. And then what it left me with was, as I did the project, like, it left me resentful, because I felt like if I was going to give that discount, I should have had it in my mind, like, I should have upped the fee so that I would have still been made whole. Right. So I don't do discounts.
I was going to say, or when you create one discount, then you create a discounting culture. And that's where, and I'm going to go back to one of my other favorite books, Worth Every Penny by Sarah Petty. I'll link to that in the show notes. You're not trying to compete on price. Like, you're competing on experience and service. And that's the only way you can stand apart. Well, it's not, service and experience is a big part of it. That's not the only way, but that's a big part of it. You're right.
I have a friend who's was hiring an architect. She brought in this woman, fantastic, so talented. She wanted to hire her. She'd interviewed a couple of other architects who were coming in a little bit less, and a lot less. And she asked the architect if she could do the job for less, and the architect said no. She said, no, I really would love to, but I can't. I'm a mom. I think she was like on the cusp of getting divorced. She's like, so I'm basically a single mom. I have 2 children that I have to provide for. I can't. I would love to, but I can't.
Not to mention your education and experience, years of experience has gotten you to where you're paying for the experience. You're paying for the knowledge, the brain power, the creativity that's in between your ears, and nobody else has that. So
for a few $100 for $1,000, and I just no. So so that's the other thing that's a non-negotiable for me. And then being asked to do things. So the last non-negotiable. And I learned this one with that client experience that I shared with you. That was that terrible, awful experience. Oh man, that one that beat up my ego a little bit, because well, first of all, the project came out amazing. And she did end up loving it, but she was a hateful person. But that should not have happened to me, because I'm I'm an NYU certified project manager with eons of experience. That should not have happened to me. That happened to me because there were changes to the design plan that were made that I didn't write up work order changes for. And I should have done that. And that is a whole process, right? Especially when you're doing a renovation. It forces you to sit down and evaluate what impact this has and what the monetary impact will be.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a big personality. She would barrel through me. I allowed the barreling. I
Mm-hmm.
allowed these changes to go through undocumented because I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we'll just do it. And then in the end, it bit us in the ass, and it was
Mm-hmm.
her fault, but it was my fault for not having documented it. So now that's a non-negotiable. We sign off on a design plan. If you're going to make changes to it, I'm going to put you through the work change process.
Yeah. What I love about what I just heard is something that I really want to put a spotlight on, is that it's one thing to experience challenges, hardships, difficult people, things that get fucked up. It happens. But it's one thing to go through that and then just keep the bus moving, like just keep it rolling,
Right.
right? Just keep going ahead. But what Tina does, being the NYU certified project manager that she is she says, hold the phone, people. We need to take a minute. We need to take a beat and figure out, how did we get here? Take
Take
accountability
accountability. Yeah.
for your, you know, I used to drive some of my staff nuts when it would come to accountability, because I do believe in extreme accountability. Even if you have a client who is awful, just a
Yeah.
terrible, terrible human, there are a few out there. It doesn't matter how terrible they are. You, as the leader of your business, have to have made decisions to things that got you to where you are, and you must take accountability
Mm-hmm.
for it so that you can learn from it and do it differently next time.
Next time.
When you
Yeah.
don't do that, and you always put accountability on someone else, on the shipper, the receiver, or the furniture company, or what, I mean, now sometimes there's just stuff that's just out of your control, let's be
Yeah.
honest, but you know, there is nothing to be learned when you're constantly pointing fingers and blaming.
Mm-hmm.
And that accountability piece is, I think, one of the most important aspects of being a business owner, and knowing when you have responsibility. Most of the time there is shared responsibility. So it's not to say that
Mm-hmm.
every time there's something wrong with you and you screwed up, and it is, and
Right.
also it's not, you shouldn't attack yourself personally, right? You're just like, oh shoot,
Right.
I really screwed this up. How do we fix it? And how do we talk to the client about it? How do we make it right? Or how do we explain to my team, like, look, it's my fault for allowing this toxic personality to get through the cracks. This is what we have to do to peacefully cut ties, make sure that our reputation is
Mm-hmm.
unscathed, and that they're going to walk away feeling okay about it, right? And
Right.
we can move on and do our other jobs. But it's this idea of like, let's just not steamroll past opportunities to learn from mistakes. Let's find ways to integrate those learnings in a deeper way into our business. And it sounds like you've really done that beautifully. And that's how you have these beautiful processes that, like the back of your hand, that are non-negotiable, and your clients fully respect it because they see, this is somebody who has done this so many times that they know what
Mm-hmm.
works, and I've got to trust that. And if they're not
Yeah.
willing to trust you, trust for me is a really big one. I have to work with clients who are inherently trusting people. If they're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not, that is an uphill battle, and I'm just not interested. And
Yeah.
that's a non-negotiable for me. But I
Yeah.
love hearing how you've integrated all of these, every opportunity, big and small, has become a part of your process, a part of your system, a part of your contract, I'm guessing too.
Yeah, really. I mean, the thing with that whole experience, when I walked away from it, and
Mhm.
I mean, she just emotionally discombobulated me for weeks.
Yeah.
She was a bully, and so she would
Mhm,
attack
mhm,
me on email. But what killed me the most about that project wasn't even not getting to do the photos and all that stuff, was
mhm,
that she was walking away somehow feeling like she had had a bad experience with me. That killed me. And
mhm,
it brought me to the term the client experience, which I had learned in my
mhm.
corporate life when I
Yeah.
worked for this brokerage house. Um, they had, what was it, 7 pillars for the year, right? So like 7 key components that we have to focus on for the year. And all of those 7 pillars needed to somehow tie up into the client experience, because that's the major key focus for
Mhm,
the firm.
mhm.
And I mean, we heard about client experience out the wazoo every day, all the time, and everything. I mean, to the point where I was like, like just stop. And I left that firm, started my own company, and never used the term, never thought about it, never I just assumed that clients were having a great time because they like me because I'm cute and we got a good time or whatever. And it wasn't until 15 years later I have this
and because of that,
I have this terrible experience with this woman, and I began to do the the soul searching, and I realized she had a terrible experience. And that shouldn't have been the case. And it brought me back to the client experience. And now that's like top of mind at all times, whether it's an email that I'm writing or the Friday status reports that I do. It's client experiences. I want them, every interaction that they have with me or, with my firm, to be something positive. And you can't avoid the negatives. The negatives are going to happen. I just, delivered a $5,000 mohair sofa 3 weeks ago. 1 week later, she calls me. She's like, the mohair's losing color. I was like, oh my God, what are you talking? And it was how I handled it that, I just finally went in this week. We fixed it. It wasn't losing color. It was just pressure points. But anyway, she was so happy. She was so happy. She felt heard. She felt like we handled it. We addressed it. So client experience. So for any of you starting out there, take the client experience and make that a pillar of what you do.
Yeah. And
everything needs to tie into it.
I will just put a plug in for Interior Designers Business Blueprint right now. We have a whole masterclass on the design process and onboarding your clients and all of that. So if you want to learn the way that I like to teach, which is flexible, because I think that you should be able to be the one that puts in your own unique touches. But it's a really great building block it's one of my most favorite master classes to teach, and that's available inside the Interior Designers Business Blueprint. But you said something that I know we need to wrap up, but I'm reminded too of just how important it is when you screw something up, or even if you don't screw it up, but that's the client's perception, that the way you talk about it with your client, the way you frame it can have an enormous impact on the outcome of that relationship. For example, one of my own experiences with one of my last huge project back in Texas, in whole home renovation, and like no surface was untouched. And long story short, we had been working on this project through the pandemic. There was the ice storm that caused the house to flood mid-construction right after all the custom cabinetry had been put in. It was a whole thing. And big shout out to Melissa, who took the lead on that project and really managed most of this. But we got to the end, and the client decided that they wanted, at first they needed to just put all their money into the interior. They weren't, even though we had sourced everything for the full wraparound porch, like 4 sides, the clients came back almost 2 years later and were like, now we want to buy that whole package, that furniture package, that same one. They liked what we did. And we were like, well, okay, but we got to check stock and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, that was its own whole thing. Right. So we did the best to our ability, but they were so burned out because it was a remote project. They were so burned out on paying for the receiving company, which was almost 2 hours away from where they were, to have the furniture inspected and sent out, and paying for the storage and all of that, which I understood that they didn't want that. But this is where I screwed up. I made an exception to using a receiving company because they asked, and I didn't fully think through the ramifications of not using a receiving company. First of all, this is our client's second home. It's not their primary residence. They don't live there to receive packages or freight deliveries that come. And because they lived in a city 3 hours away. And so the idea was to have all of anyway, we thought we had figured it all out by having all of the parcel deliveries shipped to their home, and they would just drive them out when they came, but have the freight shipments arrive on a scheduled delivery, and we would coordinate with the client. Seemed easy enough. And it turned out to be one of the biggest nightmares. The client, who we had previously had beautiful relationship with, was no longer returning our phone calls or emails for a very long time and had an outstanding balance. So here we are, feeling like we screwed up. We're not getting paid. It definitely doesn't feel like we're getting photographs. And it became one of those things that I couldn't stop thinking about at all. I finally got him on the phone, only because he accidentally called me back. And I ended up getting him on the phone and had this conversation. And it was finally at this point where I learned that their frustration was on the coordination of these deliveries. And I had to just be honest and say, look, I can see now that we've gone through this, exactly how frustrating this was for you, especially trying to raise 2 kids and you've got 2 really like huge jobs to carry out. We did this because this is what you asked us to do, and it was our responsibility. We should have looked at this a little closer and asked ourselves, is this really a good idea? Here's the pros and cons. And in retrospect, I never would have said no to bypassing the receiver, because this is all of this could have been avoided if I had stuck to what I knew. And so I have a responsibility to you now to get this right and to fix it. I need you to give me the opportunity to fix this, which means returning my phone calls and my emails. Can we move forward? Let me finish this for you. It has my undivided attention. And so I acknowledge that I screwed up. I acknowledge that it was per their request. I acknowledge that I could see it clearly now, right? I was sort of sharing the blame, but not pointing the finger at him. Like, well, we did what you told us to, it was like, oh,
Right.
I wish that I had really thought about this differently before we got, and that hit, because the initial first half of the phone call, he was like firing some like fiery words. And I did have to say, like, if we're going to have this conversation, I need you to not, because he like mimicked me or something. I said, you may not mimic me. That's not going to work. And so then by the end of the conversation, the tune had completely shifted. He said, okay, I get it. I need your help. I want your help. I know you can do this. Let's turn it around. Not only did we get paid for every outstanding invoice, but we got the most beautiful shots in our portfolio to share, and the relationship was salvaged and everybody was okay. But it was this idea that if you didn't take a minute to reflect back on how did we find ourselves here? How did we get here? It wouldn't have been obvious. It would have been easy to point fingers and blame them. Not shown any empathy to the fact that they're busy trying to have these 2 careers and raise 2 kids and the logistics and all of that. And so I think, empathy, accountability, all of these are really pillar characteristics of a good business owner. And I see you doing that. And I just want to reiterate that to anybody that's listening, that it's not just taking ownership, it's how you handle these situations when they come up, that it can really change the trajectory and protect your brand and your reputation and all of that. And that's something we don't have a whole lot of room. If Coca-Cola makes a misstep in branding or message marketing, they can rebound.
Right.
As a small business owner in a community, it's not as easy. It's not as easy to do. So you have to work extra hard to be more diligent about it. Not to say that, you're not going to let somebody steamroll you, but taking ownership and accountability, showing empathy, being respectful, that's going to get you so much further. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you all day. I want to wrap up with one last question. We're talking about so many different aspects of running a business, and you've done so much of that so beautifully. And you have used so much of your prior experience in corporate, plus your education and your experience working with your clients. But what advice would you have for emerging interior designers who are looking to start their own business or to take their career to the next level? What would you say to them? Do this sooner, or do this now, or do this better? What would your advice be?
I would say, take the time to set up the business properly, and not just set up your LLC or your resale certificate, all that stuff. But yes, do that. Definitely have that, so that you're able to open up all your trade accounts and all of those things, right? Have your website. But more importantly, set up all your back end, so that you're not flying by the seat of your pants as clients and projects start to come through. take the time to do it. If you're able to dedicate the time, say you dedicate 2 days a week or 3 days a week to it. Say you're like me, I was a mom with 2 young kids, splitting my time between, taking care of the baby and picking up the toddler. I had like little pockets of time throughout the day that I could work. But my work, I was already running a business, and I didn't have the business. So it was really hard to go back and try to set up the business retroactively. So I would say do that first. Once you have your whole business set up, then you can start thinking about your branding and how you want to go out and get clients. Where are you going to get your portfolio pieces, right? Your own home, your friends' homes, whatever. But setting up the back end, the process, I think, is the most important thing, so that you know it like the back of your hand. Now you get your first client and you're able to walk through it. So A, it'll build your confidence. B, it'll help your client experience. And 3, your results will be so much better, so that you're able to get photographs and whatever, and referrals, because that's the most important thing when you're getting started, is those referrals.
Yeah. And I would say your process is your brand, because it's how people experience you.
Yeah, exactly. I would say, and it's, like we say the word process, and it's like, it's such a big umbrella, right? Because there are so many different processes. There's the design process, but then there's also your backend, your operations process. Then there's also your process for how you're going to get your clients. And but I would say work through all of them. Don't take a whole year. You know what I mean? Try to, in other words, don't get so paralyzed by not having everything finished that you never launch. But do take the time. I would say 3 to 6 months to get yourself fully set up. If you're not working on that full time, if you're doing it part time, I think that's probably a good number. I think if you're finding yourself at 12 months and you're still setting up, then you need to revisit. Maybe you're not allocating enough time, or maybe
because a lot of the process gets iterated as you work with clients. So it doesn't need to be perfect right out of the gate, because it never will be. It's not going to ever be perfect. You do have to iterate through the act of doing projects. But I agree 100%. You can think through a lot of it prior to ever having a client, so that you can start talking about how you work with more confidence, just exactly as like what you said. Well, and Designers Oasis offers every template under the sun, every lesson under the sun, for helping you get those systems and processes up to speed.
Faster for you, so you're not having to do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's like plug and play,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then you've got folks like Tina inside the community there to help cheer you on and answer questions and provide some really great insights. Tina, I feel so lucky to have had this chance to sit and chat with you again today. You are such a light and so fun, and you're so smart and good at what you do. And I mean all of that. And you are a huge asset to this community. So thank you for your time. Where can people find you online?
Well, I'm on Instagram, Juliette Sebastian, or you can even look me up by my name, Tina Guevara. My website, JulietteSebastian.com, Facebook, same thing, Juliette Sebastian. But yeah, I'm out there. And
we will link to all of that. Yeah, we'll link to all that in the show notes. I love it so much. All right, Tina, have a wonderful rest of your week, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Bye for now.
So bye. I'll see you on Thursday.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey friend, thank you so much for letting me spend a part of this day with you. I'm so passionate about helping designers like you, and I believe in a rising tide, that when one of us does well, we all do better. So if you share this attitude of abundance with me, I want you to do just one little thing. Please share this episode with someone you think might love it. And if you're feeling extra generous today, go ahead and take just 30 seconds to open your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's free for you to do, and it helps me to be able to keep making more episodes and resources for you. However you choose to help, please know I appreciate you so very much. Thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you soon.